Hello everybody, Brad Johnson here. In this video we're going to be talking about emotions, illusions, and traumas, eliminating the 3 levels of lack. So in the past I have commonly talked about 2 levels, where we've looked into the emotions, which represent the 3 core emotions, and we looked into trauma, representing the 3 core traumas. But as we look into those 2 levels, there is actually a level in the middle, just below the emotions and just above the trauma. And of course, as we go at the very, very bottom, we see the cause of all trauma, of all illusions, and of all emotional hardships, that being lack. So we're going to talk about this today in this video. So again, I just created this diagram that basically shows these 3 rings. Okay, in the center of the first ring, of course, is lack. And as we go into the next ring, we're looking into the 3 traumas: abandonment, rejection, abuse. And then we start to go into the second ring, and this is what we're focusing on in regards to the other layer that's in between these 2. And those are the illusions. Okay, 3 illusions. So that's where this will go here. 3 illusions. Okay, and the first illusion represents that of separation. Second represents that of approval. Third one represents that of control. So we're going to get into the illusions here in just a minute. And of course we have the outer ring, which represents the messengers, the emotions, the 3 core emotions: fear, anger, sadness. So yes, we have a whole heap of different emotions, but all of those emotions can be categorized into these 3: the fear, the anger, the sadness. So when we are looking at this, and when you're looking at the techniques that I've shared on my YouTube channel for free, such as the BCR and TC technique, and of course I've also offered the black ball technique as well too. You guys can find that on my YouTube channel. Just type in black ball technique. Okay, it's a spirit drive episode, and there's a guided meditation there as well too. So we're using just some of these techniques to help us dig out of these emotional states that we get into. So when we're looking at the 3 emotions, when we're looking at fear, anger, and sadness, that's where we start off with when we're using the BCR and the TC technique. Now, if I was to liken the BCR and TC technique to my other method, which is the full method of these 2 techniques combined, the EQ method, you could think of it as the BCR and TC technique being that of a shovel. Okay, got a little shovel here, and we're starting to dig with that shovel. Now, through repetition, we're able to get a lot of headway relating to working with these emotional states. We're able to wake up in the morning, bring ourselves into the BCR technique, have a lot of love, combination within ourselves, and we go throughout the day and we start to become aware of any triggers that may come up that may relate to these 3 emotions. And as we have those triggers come up, again, you guys know the routine. If you don't, you can go ahead and check out the BCR and TC technique videos on my YouTube channel, okay? And we're just digging, right? We're digging and we're throwing the dirt aside when we start to clear away these triggers, right? The BCR technique accumulates love into ourselves. The TC technique helps to clear the triggers that we encounter on a day-to-day basis, so that we are dealing with fear, with anger, and with sadness. And we're starting to dig this hole. And day by day, week by week, perhaps even month by month, we start making headway. We start going deeper into the earth, into this garden bed that represents ourselves. And now we start looking into illusions, okay? So illusions of separation. Well, we can see that that is quite a common one. That if we're looking into the illusion of separation, we're feeling that we are disconnected with everybody. We feel that we are the only ones suffering like this. We feel like we have no rapport with anybody else. We're just completely on our own. We're abandoned, really. Right? So we go into that illusion of separation, and we start to shatter that illusion, right? So as we start digging a lot more, realizing that the triggers are now in time helping us to identify some of the illusions that we have bought into. Now, a lot of those illusions, again, not only can go into the emotional body, but can go into the mental body as well too, right? So this is how we start having belief systems. This is how we start having addictions. This is how we start having bad habits, right? We start going into these illusions that we're spinning. I have to have approval from somebody. If somebody doesn't say, yes, you're approved, well then, I don't know what to do. I don't think I'm anything, really. I think I'm a nobody, right? If I don't have approval, I can't get things done. I can't move forward. I have to have somebody in my reality to give me a stamp and say, psh, you're approved, you're good, let's move on. That too is a grand illusion. Is we're looking at the feeling that we have to be approved of how we live life. We have to approve, get approved about the money we make, about the work that we do, about the type of partner that we have, the family, the friends that we have. Has to be approval, 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 right? One of the biggest illusions, because we're constantly putting all that energy towards everybody else, but not ourselves. And we have the third illusion, control, okay? Pretty obvious one. I'm completely insecure with myself, so I have to control everything. I'm hurt, I'm abused, I feel like I'm just down in the dumps and I don't want that to happen again. So I'm going to control things. I'm going to control people. Because the last thing I want is anyone telling me, hey, I'm a control freak, or hey, I've been abused, hey, I've been hurt. All right? So we go into that state of control. So we see again how the illusions can work together and associate together with the emotions. Right? We have a lot of fear. Maybe it points to the idea of separation, or to approval, or to control. We have sadness because we feel rejected. We have anger because we have abuse. Right? It all cross-connects. And then, of course, we continue to dig. Right? So we notice that we have some illusions here. So I feel like I have a separation illusion as you start digging this hole a lot more. And now you start saying that as I have the separation illusion, I'm ready to let go of that. I'm going to let go of that feeling of separation. I'm going to feel that get rid of that feeling that represents division, that represents exclusion from everything else. The same goes with the other illusions. All right? And we continue to dig and dig and dig until we get into traumas. Right? So basically, why we have the three levels in this way, emotions, illusions, and trauma, is because they actually rate themselves based upon severity. Okay? Emotions can be intense, but they can be overcome. They're actually the easiest to be overcome with. We're able to rectify them quite quickly. But if we're starting on day number 1, all right, and we're just getting started with our traumas, right? Maybe we are able to identify a trauma. Maybe we say, okay, I do have a lot of rejection energy, all right? And if we try to get started on day number 1 with rejection energy through the BCR and TC technique, unlikely that you're going to succeed with that, okay? We're not going right into the fray. We're not going into the greater core of where a lot of our traumas exist. When we're working with the BCR and TC technique and the black ball technique, we're working on the surface and we're just slowly bringing ourselves down. So this can be an accumulation of days, weeks, or even months. It all depends upon the person, all right? Before they hit hard rock, and now they start to see illusions coming up. Separation, control, and approval. But they're able to accomplish that. They're able to do a lot more digging. They're able to break through these illusions. They're able to work with their mental body, their emotional body, their physical body, relating to those because you're still just clearing away triggers. That's all you're doing. And then you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and then bam, you hit the trauma bedrock. Okay? So it's like the bedrock that you're hitting, and now that you've been doing this over a certain duration of time, it's actually not so bad. You can actually face these traumas. Okay? So what we're not doing is, it's not like here we are in the valley and here's a mountain range. All right? If we're right here and it's our first day, day number 1, and you're not going to say, I got this, and think that you're just going to run all the way up that Mount Everest, okay, going right to the top of the summit. You don't got it, okay? You have to make the climb. You have to start walking, and you start making an ascent, and you get to the top of the mountain, okay? You're not trying to cheat. You're not trying to use a pogo stick. You're not trying to use booster rockets. End up missing the mark of the mountain. All of a sudden you fly over to another mountain and crash in it, and boom, you spontaneously combust. Right? No, we are taking our time with this. We are climbing that mountain. We are making that ascent. Right? We're making our ascent to the summit, to summit level manifestation, to summit level life. Okay? So this again is what you're doing with the BCR and TC technique and the black ball technique. You're using that shovel. Now, what about the EQ method? Well, the EQ method is like a tractor. Okay? Which means we're able to haul a lot more dirt when we're using the EQ method. Now, it's probably not going to be a very good drawing, but draw a little tractor here. All right? Pretty bad drawing, but we're hauling a lot more dirt out of our personal garden here. Right? We got that big tractor trailer scoop, and we're scooping it into the earth, and we're taking maybe about 50 times more dirt out of the ground by working with the EQ method. Okay? But the EQ method is a much more deeper process, which means there's a preparation for an EQ method where you are working with love energy a great deal. Okay? I basically help to soften people, to get them into that love energy, and I remind them that after you're done with the EQ method, go to the BCR and TC technique as well too. But when people have done the EQ method with me, they've had a recording, so they can sometimes go back to those recordings and they can do the EQ method again and again and again. So in a nutshell, what's being said is that the EQ method goes deeper a little bit more quickly, whereas the BCR and TC technique is smaller and quicker, but it doesn't take out as much dirt. Okay? That's the difference between these techniques altogether. Right? So the EQ method is what I offer on my website on newearthteachings.com as a session. Okay? And within about a half hour, quite commonly, people really see a difference. Okay? I spend about 30 minutes with people, and we go through the entire step-by-step process of the EQ method, and people feel amazing. So there's a big chunk that comes out of that. Right? You still may have to do EQ method a couple more times, right, before you're able to get right into the trauma. But like I said, the EQ method is giving you a very big boost. It's helping you to unearth a lot more of the emotional states, the illusionary states, and the traumatic states. Okay? But no matter what you use, BCR-TC technique is quicker. Like I said, it takes like 2 or 3 minutes. And then when you do a 2C technique, 2 or 3 minutes as well too. Then 5 or 6 minutes. You got both techniques taken care of. EQ method, you need a half hour. Okay? So it's all up to you. But this is why I offer the BCR and TC technique for free. Because the EQ method, it's a little bit more challenging to teach. I have to teach people personally. It's what I've done in the Spirit Ambassador classroom last year. And there are some people who are certified with the EQ method. But there's a bigger process to it. It's a little more deeper. Whereas the BCR-TC technique and the black ball technique, very, very, very simple. Okay? So it's up to you. It's your choice. Both will get you to where you need to be. This might just take a little bit more time. This will take a less time, but is a longer process. Okay? So again, I wanted to share the 3 levels with you so that we are becoming aware of that when we are triggered by anything, whatever it is, The emotions are going to show up first, okay? You're not just going to all of a sudden know the trauma, right? When I have asked people that, I said, do you know what trauma you're feeling? 9 times out of 10, they have no idea. No idea about what kind of trauma they have, okay? So they said, I'm angry because this person I feel jealous about. They made me really, really upset. I'm very irritated by them. Okay, so we were admitting that there's anger there. You're angry at this person. What do you think that trauma would represent? Oh, I don't know. Right? Well, if you're angry at somebody, you're feeling a lot of anger towards them. A lot of this has to do with rejection. Okay, that's just an example. But they do not see that. Even if I'm able to tell a person, this is the trauma that you're going through, we still may not be able to tackle all of that trauma right away. Right? We still have to go through the emotional states, and we have to break the illusions, right? So it's like we're looking at this earth crust. We go a little bit deeper, and we see the harder rock, but it's like a reflection-based rock, right? It's looking back at you. It's reflecting back at you. Your illusions of separation, of approval, of control. And now you have to shatter that mirror-like hard rock, right? So when the illusions get shattered, that's when you have a better opportunity to go into the traumas. Because now the illusions aren't keeping you at bay. And that's what the illusions do. They're again like that mirror. And you're looking back at yourself. And maybe you don't like looking back at yourself. Until you're able to neutralize yourself, to center yourself, or to be completely in that state of love. And you're ready to say, I'm shattering this illusion of separation. I'm shattering this illusion of approval or of control. I'm going past all that, right? Because a lot of people do not know that they feel separated, that they feel in a state of control, that they feel that they need approval, okay? They're oblivious to that. You have to kind of take them on a tour of that. You're saying, do you know that this is exactly why you've been having such a hard time? Is because you're seeing everything as separate. You're in a separation-based illusion. And now they click in, right? So this is why emotions are at the top of the list. They're the most easy to identify. Illusions are kind of in that middle ground, right? Some people can identify them. Some people may take a little bit more time. Traumas are almost next to impossible to identify if you're not doing this inner work within yourself, okay? So you really have to kind of look past the emotions, go past the illusions. You encounter the traumas. Now you understand why this was all happening in the way that it was. It's the traumas that are linking back to me in my past when I was younger, for example. When I felt abandoned, rejected, abused, I looked at that. And now I realize that I have traumas. Not just that, but people on a majority level think that these are unbeatable. That when you're looking into the traumas, it's almost next to impossible to resolve them. And that's not the case. The whole idea is that you want to take time with this, okay? It's not a race. Even when we cross the point of no return, guys, it's still not a race, all right? As long as you guys are following your inner being and you're changing, you're willing to change, and again, it doesn't matter if it's 2055, okay? You're still able to work with your traumas. You're still able to work with your illusions. You're still able to work with your emotions, okay? It's not too late for you with that. When we go into the point of no return, which of course is something that I will be talking about again, through an Adronis channeling in November, right? When we go through the point of no return, this is letting you know that you're carrying momentum forward, right? So if you're carrying momentum forward where you want to do better, where you want to work on yourself, where you want to do the inner work, where you want to change, you're going to continue to, move into great heights with that, okay? It's people that are closed-minded. It's people that are very narrow-minded. It's people who feel like they've given up on life altogether. Those ones are going to have the hardest time. Okay, but if there's a shred of openness, of receptivity, of wanting to do this inner work, of wanting to become a better person, you're going to be fine. Okay? That again is the momentum that's going to carry you forward. So again, we'll be talking about 2021 and the point of no return here in November. But anyways, I wanted to go through this with you guys, just so you're getting an understanding about how helpful these techniques are. But like I said, before technique needs to be your essence, needs to be your drive, your willpower, your substance, okay? It's your heart. When you say, Brad, I look at this, and yes, I know I'm going to get better. I know I'm going to do well. I'm going to take care of this. Great, your willpower is there. And now you can start working with these techniques, with these methods. And if you're not saying, oh, this isn't going to work for me, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this, I can't change who I am, then you're exactly where you need to be, right? You're going to be stuck there. You're stuck into this bubble that is unchangeable because you're not willing to change. If you are willing to change, you can fly through this. This can be done within weeks or within months, okay? But if you're just too hard-headed, if you're too stubborn, if you're too caught up in your own ways and you're not willing to change, you're going to stay in that bubble. And it's going to feel like a concrete bubble. You can't break out of it until you are willing to shift, to transform yourself, to change. Looking at your emotions, right? And being able to identify them. I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm afraid, right? So, what do? If we're working with the BCR technique, we fill ourselves with love. Put so much love into ourselves. We're high. It's like we're walking on clouds. We feel so wonderful. We feel so amazing. We indulge our imagination. We indulge our inner child. We feel so full of love. And we accumulate that into ourselves. Great. Now you go throughout the day. Now you do the TC technique. Now you feel triggered by something. Maybe it's something you watch on the computer, something you watch on TV, something somebody says, a license plate number that triggers you in some way, right? You have to catch yourself. You have to be the safety net here, okay? Referred to it as a catcher's mitt, but you want to make sure that you're the safety net. If you are triggered, boom, you can bounce upon the safety net. If you don't catch yourself, you're going to plummet and you're going to hit the ground hard, okay? And now you're going into the despair of the emotion itself, which is linked to the illusions, which is linked to the traumas, which is linked to lack, okay? Because that's what we're going to do, is we're going to continue to dig, whether we're using a tractor or whether we're using a shovel. We're going to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig till we get right here, right into the lack, right? Right into that source. Because without all of this, that lack can't be there. We puncture it. We puncture that lack, and now that lack can go. Well, Brad, what happens when we clear away all of that lack? You pretty much live a life of total beingness. All right? You are in a state of total beingness, and I'm going to be doing a video about this as well too. Is that you will be able to walk through life looking at reality, at the external reality, on a neutral level. You are the complete witness. You are the complete observer. Right? You are not getting tied into any form of opinions about how reality should be. You're not being critical of anybody or anything. You're not being judgmental whatsoever. You're not playing the hypothetical game about how things should be. So there's no hypotheticalism. There's no opinions. There's no criticism. There's no judgment when you are looking at external reality. Okay? Two people could just be yelling at each other. You're just smiling. You give them a blessing. And that's it. You're not bothered by it. Right? They could be yelling at each other. Maybe they're arguing about money. Okay? You're just walking past them and just say, bless them. Right? And you walk on. Doesn't bother you at all. Doesn't faze you. You become imperturbable. Right? You become completely in a state of equanimity. You're not in a superior-inferior complex anymore. You're not in any way affected by what is going on in your external world. Bombs could be dropping off in front of you, and you don't care. Right? You're neutral to everything. That's what this does. When we get into the lack, when we start to puncture it, when we clear it out completely. And again, we may meet challenges. We may have some hard times still that come, but again, we have that safety net, right? If there's something new that comes into our life that we were not expecting, it's okay. We got the safety net here. Fall in the safety net. Catch yourself. TC technique, okay? And we clear it out, even after we puncture this, because lack will always try to come back. Will always try to come back until we change our patterns, right? Once our patterns change, we don't experience that lack anymore, because that lack has only been established by those old patterns that we keep feeding, right? So if it's your job, if it's your relationships, if it's family, if it's money situations, right? If it's paying rent, whatever it is. There's an old pattern there that maybe you've harmonized, but you're still running the hamster wheel of that pattern. Okay? As long as you keep running that hamster wheel, even though you've cleared a lot of stuff, that lack is always going to try and come back. Okay? And it'll hit you with some surprises. It's done this to me. Certainly has. Right? I've still had to dissolve some old patterns myself that I didn't know I was doing. Don't feel bad for yourself if that happens. It's all part of the learning process. Okay? It's happened to me. All right? And so once we change those old patterns, we have something completely new to play with. Right? New patterns, new beginnings, new frontiers, new reality. And when we are there, we're becoming imperturbable. We're having equanimity. We are completely neutral. We are the witness. We are the observer. We are being our beingness. And life is grand. Life is great. Life is amazing because we've cleared away all of this gunk of lack, and we've cleared away the old patterns that once fed this lack. Now that we do that, it's a new frontier. It's paradise. You live on this planet in paradise. It doesn't matter what's happening collectively in the world, right? Doesn't bother you. You don't care about it. You're meeting people, you're sending them love, you're saying wonderful things to them. That's great. People want help from you. You're going and you're helping them. You don't care about the affairs of the planet, right? You're just here in your reality, in your world, making it as bright as possible. And everybody you come in contact with, even without saying a word, you brighten their day. And now that spreads, and it spreads, and it spreads, and it spreads, and it spreads. More of us start doing this, it becomes like a positive virus, right? Now everybody is starting to feel this joy, this love, this elation of being alive, of being on their own paradise world. And that's what's going to change things. But we have to demonstrate this to ourselves. It's not about following every single word that I say. It's about taking this and making it your own, right? You understand the mechanics now about how lack is linked to traumas, to illusions, and to emotions. It's up to you now to start taking that and making something out of it. You can follow the techniques that I've created here, the BCR-TC technique, etc. Or maybe you come up with your own thing. It's up to you. You want to have that empowerment. You want to have your own inner direction, stronger than anything. Work together with God. Work with spirit within yourself. And that's what's going to give you headway. And clearing away all these old patterns and moving into a true reality where everything is in a state of beingness, observation, witnessing. There's no criticisms. There's no opinions in regards to detriment. There's nothing in regards to judgment. There's no hypotheticalness. So what if this happened? What if, what if, what if, what if? All that garbage is gone. And you're just walking through life, smiling. You see something funny, sure, you laugh at it, right? Because that warms your heart. You're going into a state of compliment of what warms your heart, of what makes you feel well, right? But you're not forming an inner commentary about how reality should be, because that's not accepting reality as it is in front of you. Accept it, right? Reality has no filter. You have a filter. And it's time to clear out that filter and move into that state of imperturbability, of witnessing, of beingness. All right? Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Take care. Beautiful, sacred geometrical clothing, apparel, and accessories imbued with spirit source energy to heal, rejuvenate, detoxify, and strengthen the body. Shop now at healingcodeshop.com. Thank you very much for checking out my channel. Below you'll see my links to social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also go to healingcodecards.com, pick up your own Healing Code Cards body deck. And of course, check out my website at newearthteachings.com. Thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next video.